Hi everyone. So today I thought I'd have a little bit of a chat. I need to start making some more videos for this channel. So yeah. But one of the things I've noticed, again, it's just a little chat, guys. A little chat. Not planning on putting any tents up or going for a walk in the woods, or not planning on doing any of that today. Too hot. But yeah, one of the things I've noticed today, as I'm just sitting there chilling, is the weather. Just sorry, I'm just trying to sort my mic out. Yeah, it's the weather. So yeah, for the last 2 years, it's done absolutely nothing but rain. This year, yeah, hasn't, like I said yesterday when I went out yesterday to make a video, hasn't really rained, and we're going into a second or third or fourth heat wave this year. And looking at my garden, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, my garden is suffering. As you probably saw yesterday, most of the grass is dead or dying. And my back garden is like a sun trap. So if it's, let's say it's 25, I think today's supposed to get up to 28. Yeah, so let's say it's 28 outside, it's probably 48, 50 in the garden right now. So yeah, I'll try. So this time of day is what, about 2 o'clock, 2:15 in the afternoon. I avoid going out in the garden this time of day, only because it's really, really hot. But yeah, so yeah, my garden's struggling. I've got 300 litre water bat that collects rainwater. Both of those are empty. So I can't even. I was gonna say I can't even water the garden. I can, because I can just hook the hose up to the tap, but I don't even want to do that. If that makes sense. Like I said, it hasn't really rained this year, and well, where I live hasn't really rained this year, and I am expecting the government or the local councils or whatever to put a hose pipe ban in place. So yeah, I can't. Like I said, so when they put their hose pipe ban in, I can't even use a hose pipe anyway. So yeah, I am planning some point this week to get into the garden. Because you probably know it, or you probably won't be able to see it on camera, but on the left hand side, there's some rose bushes that have grown crazy. There's 3 other little bits that need doing. But I'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, like my potatoes, my strawberries, yeah, they're all dying. They're all dying out there. The soil was so dry. And that's the other thing, guys. You know, as soon as so if I water like in the evening, when the sun moves around to the front of the flat or front of the building, I tend to water, so it has pretty much all night to sit there and just soak up the water, and the plants can have a good drink during the night until the next day. But when I say if I do say for example I do that tonight, I water the garden tonight. By 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, the soil will be bone dry. It, the sun just literally just bakes the ground, turns it into dust. So yeah, I'm thinking. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to think of other of other ways to um, water my garden. So trying to think of other ways to keep the moisture. So I can have all the water storage in the world. I can have a 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 litre water storage container. You know what I mean? I can have all the storage in the world. I can use all that water within a week. At the moment, I can use all that water in a week. Just trying to keep the garden looking alright. I got an apple tree, I got a pear tree. Yeah, I got so much in there. I can use all my water storage. So what I was thinking, because my granddad did this many years ago, and I know people still do it to this day. My granddad did it in his greenhouse where he connected a hose pipe to a drainage pipe, the kind of drainage pipe you have in your house. He buried it, if I remember right. He buried it into the soil. Obviously, obviously, he cut holes, like small little holes in the drainage pipe. But would that work though? Because I was thinking, if I bury some pipe into the ground, obviously be quite a few. Fill those pipes up with water, or so. What I'm trying to think of, guys and girls, is I'm trying to think of how to keep water in the soil for longer, if that makes sense. So if I can make little pockets of water in the soil, so I don't know, use a plastic piping or something. I don't know whether there's anything out there. I might have to have a look on Amazon, see what they got. But trying to have some sort of water storage that I can bury into the ground, but the plants still can have their water. If that makes sense. Yeah. So you guys probably are thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Like I said, we've had no water this year, no rain this year. Even the local rivers, I don't know whether you saw it on camera yesterday, but even the local rivers and streams around here, even the local pond that's up the road, it used to be an old farm mill. They used to do grain, grind up grain and stuff. Even that is running like very low, very low. And I've started to notice a cycle here. So like I said, last 2 years it's been very wet. Last year wasn't as wet as the year before, but it was very wet. last 2 years. Now this year we're going into a drought. So I'm thinking, and this is just me thinking, is it a cycle? Because the scientists do say that here in the UK, I think they said 2050, it'll be like places like Spain, where it'll be a very hot summer, very hot, dry summer, and a very mild, wet winter. So if that's the case, and I'm still going to be here, and I don't think I'll be in this flat in 2050, but I need to try and work this out. Yeah, so I'm just thinking, guys. So that's the other reason why I'm making this video. So if I put this out on YouTube, you guys are normally quite good. Normally you guys are, and girls are normally good at giving me ideas. So yeah. So my problem is, just to recap, my problem is that I've started. My problem is I'm starting to notice a pattern in a sense of like we have a couple of dry summers, followed by a couple of wet summers, followed by a couple of dry summers, followed by a couple of wet summers. You know what I mean? There's a cycle going on here, and the cycles when it's a wet summer, I don't mind. You know what I mean? It's like it can be wet, and then you know what I mean. It don't really bother me. But if it rains every single day, like it has been for the last 2 years, and there's been no sun, then my plants are not going to grow, or they're not going to grow as well. When it's like this, and it's a drought, and we have no rain, yeah, the plants have the sun, but they don't grow because they don't have the water. So yeah, that's my dilemma, guys and girls. So I'm just trying to find a way of finding some sort of way of when it's like this and there's no water, of keeping the ground somewhat moist, or have some sort of underground water storage so the plants can get their water when it's like this, if that makes sense. Yeah, so if you guys got any ideas, or you got like something in your garden, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, you got something that works for you, leave it in. Yeah, leave a comment below. Um, I have been looking at the irrigation systems, and yeah, apparently they're not very good. I have been looking at some solar panel irrigation, so once it charges it up, it starts pumping the water through, and the ratings are not very good on them. So yeah, that's one thing I was looking at, irrigation system. So I may need to have a look at some more different ones. Ones that I can connect up to the water butt as well. So yeah, that's my plan. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. This is one of the things I was thinking about doing as well. Just have a little chats like this, as well. Um, get things off my chest. Are you going through Are you going through the same thing? Is where you live, you know, are you going through a drought? How do you cope with, you know, trying to give your plants water, and you got like a whole drought thing going on. So if you guys are wondering, I don't know what to call myself, to be honest with you. I don't know whether to call myself a doomsday prepper. I don't know whether to call myself a survivalist or just a nutcase. Probably all three. Um, yeah, I don't care calling myself a nutcase. I call myself a nutcase all the time. It doesn't bother me. Um, I know I'm a nutcase, and I don't care. You know what I mean? Um, but since moving in to this flat, I rent this flat, so it's like a year lease every year. So every year we got to renew the lease. So I know there will be a time where the landlord or landlady will look up and say, "See you later, bye." So if I am going to put some sort of water irrigation system kind of thing in, it'll be cheap. Because if me and my partner ever leave for whatever reason, I can walk away from it now and I've only spent a couple of quid on it, not a couple of thousand. Same with the plants as well. I can just walk away from the plants. It wouldn't really bother me as such. I don't go for high end, high quality, £10,000 potato. You know what I mean. Um, so yeah, um, if me and my partner move out and someone else moves in, they'll have grapevine, grape tree, vine, whatever you want to call it. They have that. They have strawberries, potatoes. They'll have apple on the pear tree. So yeah. Um, so yeah. So I'm gonna call myself a prepper, doomsday prepper. Have been since I would say the beginning of 2012, and before anyone asked, no, I didn't start prepping because of the whole my calendar. I didn't start prepping because I thought the world was going to end on the 21st of December 2012. I didn't start prepping because of that. The real reason that I started prepping is because I had cancer, and I had cancer twice. Um, all all I'm gonna say is that I'm not gonna tell you where my first cancer was because I'll get banned from YouTube. Even if I use the correct words for the body parts, I'll probably still get banned from YouTube. But it started off somewhere, and then it moved up into my stomach and gave me a second lot of cancer. Either one of them could have killed me. My first operation I had to remove the cancer, I'm assuming it was a surgeon. All I heard was his voice. I didn't see his face, just his voice. And he said to me that I'm very lucky that I'm alive. The other one, surgery on my stomach. One of the cancers were right near a artery. Artery? I think I'm saying that right. And they said that if the surgeon cuts the arteries, they guarantee that he will stop the bleeding. Especially if he didn't realise he nipped it with his surgical tools. So obviously doctors and surgeons need to say that for their own safety. So if something does go wrong, then they're not to blame. But I don't I don't realise how lucky I am to be alive. If that makes sense. I'm luckier than some. Some people that have cancer don't survive, and they can have all kinds of treatments, all kinds of surgeries, and they lose the battle. So I'm a lucky one. I don't care what anybody says. I'm lucky. So obviously I had to take best part of the year off, and yeah, so I took best part of the year off, and financially it was hard. You know, the person that owns um, the flat that I was living in at that time, the person that owned the flat still expected rent. The gas company, the electrical company, the council tax, all those bills that we pay every single month, they still expected payment every single month. And I wasn't in work for the best part of 6 months, if not longer. My chemo started on the 4th of January, and I did not go back to work until August. August? Yeah, so it was August when I went back to work. Um, that's what, 8 months, 7, 8 months that I was off for. So seven, let's say 8 months. I was off work. I did not get paid for those 8 months. By that point, I used up all my holiday. Didn't most companies here in the UK don't get sick pay. If you get sick pay, you're lucky. Um, so yeah, 8 months of not getting paid, and you still had to pay rent, still had to pay my bills, still had to pay for food, still had to pay for everything. Um, and it took me and my partner a very long time to get out of that situation. And at that point, I moved out of that property that I was living at the time, moved into another property. Again, I had stress of moving, not because of the cancer, it's just my lease ran out whilst having chemo, whilst having cancer treatment. I had to move, so I had to find the money to put a deposit on another flat, so that the whole stress of that. So when I moved into this other flat, I was there for 5 years. Um, I found a couple of survival shows. One of them was Dual Survival, back when Dual Survival was good. The first two series with Dave and Cody. Yeah, two good series with Dave and Cody in them. And then I watched the first two series of Doomsday Preppers. And as I was sitting there watching it, I thought to myself, you know what? With all the trouble I had with cancer, with all the trouble of moving and trying to find money, when I go back into work, I will take into consideration of being a doomsday prepper. And that's basically why I started prepping, because if my cancer comes back, yeah, there's a very good chance it will kill me. If my cancer comes back, there's a very good chance I probably won't survive. But at least while I'm off work trying to concentrate on my health, I'll be writing away of food. So any money that I do get, which won't be a lot, that would be going on money. So whatever my partner brings home from work, that would go on things like bills. We wouldn't necessarily have to worry about food. So I'm more of a realistic prepper. I'm not um, what's the word? I'm not one of these outrageous preppers that think the world is gonna cave in on itself. I don't think that the sun is gonna blow up or some really stupid. I don't think a really stupid thing is gonna happen, like zombie apocalypse or um, reptilians and I don't know what's the other weird things that alien invasion and there's some really outright stupid ones out there that people are prepping for. I understand prepping and preparing, but I don't understand some of the reasons why they're prepping. If that makes sense. Yeah, if they said to me I'm prepping because I'm worried about losing my job, I get that. Or I'm prepping because I've had cancer once, or some cases twice. I'm worried about that coming back. So me stockpiling food for that to come back, then I'd have to write. You know what I'm saying? Or the stock market collapsing. Now, back in 2008, there was something to do with stock markets or something to do with money. Um, Again, I can't remember the ins and outs. Um, yeah, so stuff to do with the bank and or even COVID. You look at what happened during COVID. People going crazy for toilet roll. People going crazy. I've heard stories about people going out buying, you know, 5 freezers and 5 fridges and then they would go out and buy all frozen and all chilled and you know what I mean and filling these freezers and fridges up with food. I'm like, why? Toilet roll, you know. It happened where I live in the UK. Oh, okay, we need toilet roll. Going to the toilet, go down to the aisle, and not one toilet roll. Not even a pack of tissues that you blow your nose with. Even they were gone. And lucky for me, I have one of those. Can't remember the technical term for them, but I call it a bum wash. That's my technical term. And some places in Asia, like Japan and China, they had those sprays where you go to the toilet and you spray your. I've done a video on that, where you go to the toilet and you just hose yourself down. I've actually got one of those, so I don't have to worry about toilet paper. You know what I mean? And if something extreme does happen and the water gets cut off, then yeah, I'll use the toilet paper I have. But there's always other ways to clean yourself without getting too personal. Just have to use your imagination. Um, I know people have gone to the toilet in the woods and used a dock leaf to clean themselves. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm I'm more realistic. I look at history because history always repeats itself. So you look at back at 1918 and 1919 with the Spanish flu. Almost, or just over 100 years later, we had COVID. Another 100 years, we'll have something else. China is always having these kind of pandemics. It was 20 years ago or 25 years ago when they had, I think it was SARS or whatever it was called. So they're always having these pandemics over in China and some place of Ebola is the other one. There's always outbreaks somewhere in the world of some kind of, you germ or disease or whatever going on. So, and the stock market, stock market is always going up and down. The I can't remember the other name for it. Happened back in the 1930s. Can't remember the name of it. It's not the stock market, it's something else. But it's to do with money. It's just that it was like no, I can't remember the name of it, but there was no money available. There was no jobs available. There was, you know, the Great Depression, I think people call it, back in the 1930s. That could happen again. Um, you know, I think we had it over here in the UK, I think, and they had it over in America as well. Um, the Great Depression, I think. We had it over here, not sure. But again, always look at history. So me personally, I had cancer twice. I've lost, um, I lost family members because of illness and all that. So could come back. Cancer runs in the family, both sides of my family, both mum and dad side of the family. So again, I've got to think sensible. So if you are thinking on starting prepping, or you're looking for an excuse to prep, or you are already a prepper, think sensibly, in the sense of don't prep because the world is going to collapse in on itself, or some outlandish idea of aliens and zombies, because ideally that's not going to happen. Or some sort of COVID pandemic where it turns people into zombies. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Solar flares, again, there have been reports of solar flares. I think it was 1860s. There was a solar flare. Knocked out all the telephone wires back then, the Morse code back then. That I can understand, if you want to prep for that. Because if we have a solar flare now, just think of the damage it will do. If we have a solar flare now. In this kind of weather, like I said, it's 28 degrees today. I know the train service here in the UK, they suffer because all the tracks start to get all soft and they start to not buckle, but if the train driver is not careful, it could cause damage to the tracks. So if the heat can do that to a train track, then just think what you can do to electrical wires. Just think what you can do to things like sewage works and water works. I can go out now and I can guarantee that a couple of water mains will probably burst. That's happened in the past, but has never had a quote water shortage because of it. If that makes sense. So yeah, so that is the reason why I'm a prepper. I'm started off because I had cancer. Obviously, I've recovered from that. And my partner used to say to me, "So what are you prepping for?" I said, "Well, what's to do with cancer now? I don't know." Then I watched one of the episodes of Doomsday Preppers, and there's a lady on there. She was prepping for a global pandemic. Guess what, guys? We had that. It happened in, depends on where you are in the world. Over here in the UK, it started in March 2020. Um, it was called COVID. So that lady was right. And yeah, you know, I know people that, it don't matter whether you think was fake or real, it doesn't matter. Um, but I know people that, caught COVID several times. I worked in a care home at that particular time. I've saw people die of COVID. So I only caught it once, and that was towards the end of, like, over here in the UK they call it a furlough. I got that towards the end of, well, basically the government would pay companies would pay, like, for you to have, like, time off if you got COVID. So yeah, yeah, can't remember what I was talking about COVID for, but yeah. Um, so yeah, just be sensible, guys. Again with bugging out, and COVID was the prime example, especially here in the UK. Everyone stayed indoors. Unless they were going to work, unless they were essential workers, like I was an essential worker because I was working in a care home at the time. So I had to go to work. I had no choice. But everybody else stayed at home. And realistically, don't matter what the emergency is, most people stay at home. Like the Great Depression, they probably stayed at home. Yeah, they probably did go out because there's no quote virus going around. So they probably did go out, but they had no money to do anything, so they probably just went out for a walk or trying to find food or whatever. Um, Hope you guys know what I'm talking about here. Um, so yeah, just most people would stay at home because if they have no money, then they can't drive their car because they can't fill it up with petrol, or they can't go on holiday because they don't have the money, or they can't go down to the coffee shop and buy themselves a coffee because they have no money. You know what I mean? Because of whatever situation. So they will stay at home for whatever reason. Um, they would only go out for walks. They would probably only go out to see family and friends, that kind of thing, like we did during COVID, because there was nothing else to do. Um, like with me, the only time that I would bug out is if there was a wildfire. So if a wildfire breaks out now, and I get a knock on the door saying that you gotta go because the fire's literally on your doorstep, I'll grab my bug out bag and I'll go. And I'd probably go down to my parents because where they live they don't have any trees or wildlife where they live. They live in a city, so they don't have to worry about things like fires. So that's where I'll go with my bug out bag. And if I had to stop off somewhere for the night, I could because I have all my stuff with me that I need. Um, but I wouldn't just bug out because there's COVID or the Great Depression or um, some stupid alien invasion, you know, reptilians. I wouldn't bug out for that. I wouldn't bug out because my next door neighbour is a lizard or an alien, or the reason why we're in the Great Depression or the stock market failed, or you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I would stay home for that. So yeah. So I'm gonna go, or start thinking about going, and I'm gonna have a look on Amazon to see whether I can find some water irrigation system kind of thing that's cheap and cheerful and or some sort of water storage or something that can help my plants stay a bit more alive and green. So tomorrow's plan is going to be like today is going to be up almost into the 30s, like that high 20s, low 30s tomorrow. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be out in the garden if it doesn't get too hot. That is my plan for tomorrow. Today's just a chill out day. I thought I'd just get on here real quick before my partner gets home. Because my partner finishes work soon. And I'll just walk a bit of a stretch. So yeah, I thought I'd just make a quick video, have a bit of a chat. See what you guys think about the whole situation with the whole world situation, you know, with the wildfires that were, I think it was in California, beginning of the year, floods in Texas at the moment, drought here in the UK. Because it is the beginning. I don't care what anybody says. This is the beginning of a drought, and it wouldn't surprise me if at some point um, the local council or the government will look up and say, you know, we're in a drought situation, don't use your hose pipe. If they haven't done already, they will do. We had a heat wave not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, got to mid 30s where I lived, and yeah, local authorities and all that said, you know, protect yourself, you know, stay indoors if you can, drink loads of water, don't travel unless you have to, that kind of thing. That's going to happen again soon because it'll get hotter again soon. So yeah, you know, let me. Well, you don't have to, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about about the whole situation of where you live, and yeah, maybe I'll do a live and we can have a chat doing a live, and we can, you know, bounce off each other, so to speak, in a good way. So anyway, guys, I'm going to let you all go. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.